So your gimbals gave out, or you want better stick control, or maybe both. Here's how to install the M9 Gimbal in the Taranis X9D Plus. So in this video, we're going to cover how to install these M9 gimbals, and we're also going to cover how to remove the center stick, like this one here. It will bounce back. The throttle will not. I'll tell you how to remove that. I'll also tell you how to adjust the tension after you remove that. And then once everything's buttoned up, I'll tell you how to recalibrate your stick ends. First thing, pull the battery out. What we're gonna do is make sure all our switches are pushed back, because when we split this case, you see this will kind of decide to stay either with the back, with the front, or come off entirely. The R9M module in the back here, I'm gonna leave in. We're not taking the backboard out, so this should be fine. We're just going to remove these 6 screws. There's one down here in this corner, one here, 2 up top, right there and there. And then on the opposing side, one there and one there. These are all Phillips head. You will need a 2.5mm Allen key. And there's 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, and 4 around each gimbal. You want to go ahead and loosen these up. These are fairly short and they come right out. I am going to completely remove 3 of them and just loosen 1 of them for now. Repeat on the other side. Once that's done, we're going to go ahead and split this case. You want to be fairly careful splitting this case because the 2 ends are attached to one another by a ribbon cable. So what I just did was I grabbed this in here, kind of press here, and then grab this like that and like that, and just kind of push here and pull it apart, and that will loosen it up enough to take it apart. These switches I want with the front of the case, so I'm gonna just do that and just pull them out and move them at the front of the case. Same thing with this one. You can see this blue wire there. This is to this switch. So we're gonna push this switch, and then that will allow the case to freely split. These are the ribbon cables that attach both sides. So if you're new here or have been here before, consider clicking that subscribe button. We do tutorials like this, we do flight videos, we have a lot of fun on this channel. I'd love for you to join the community. And now I will remove those final Allen keys. Next, I want to remove these few Molexes. There's one here, this long one here, this short one here, and this will come right out. These are not locked in place. Just kind of pinch them close to the top and wiggle them back and forth, and they should come right out. There's one. There's 2. And there's 3. And now with the other screw taken out, the gimbal just pulls right out. As you can see, all the connections are the same. We've got the long one, short one, and the short one. To adjust ratcheting, if you would like it on, you adjust this screw here on the left. And you will get that. This right one is a tension for the throttle. If you want to adjust overall tensions, this screw and this screw. What they do is they move this piece up and down, which relieves or adds pressure to this spring and or this spring here. So this fits in place just as the old one did. Put it underneath these wires, push it up, and then get it in this corner here underneath these boards. Pushing the stick through the hole first. Just like that, and then just kind of wiggle it in place. Just like that. Now I'm going to hold this in place and put a few screws in it. Now with that in place, this one came with 4 new screws. Just to hold it in place while I'm working on it, I'm going to add 2 Allen key screws into it. Once that's in place, take your long Molex, that clicks right here. Take your short wire, and that clicks into this lower board. And then take your longest wire, and that clicks in to this board on the right. Just like that. Then I like to make sure that these are pulled away from any of the action of the gimbal. Next, I will remove the throttle. Just as before, pinch these small connectors, rock them back and forth like this, and they should come right out. There we go. That one you can see pretty good. And the third one. There we go, and then just pull the gimbal right out. Now this is the throttle side, so on the new gimbal, we're going to have to pull the tension from the throttle so it will sit. And the other thing is, we're getting rid of that stupid click. This sits just like this, same deal. Put the stick through the hole. Go underneath this wire here, and then just kind of roll it in place underneath these boards here, and it will sit flush. I like to just put a screw to hold it in place. Okay, I've put 2 screws just to hold it in place so we can finish this job a little easier. Next, repeat as before and install your Molexes. the large one to the lower board and push it all the way in. Then the shorter wired one right to the closest Molex. Again, there's no real click to these, but you want to put them in with some force, and they do seat. And then the long one to the side Molex, and again, just make sure they seat all the way down. To adjust the throttle to take out the stick endpoints, right here, there is a little dimple. And coinciding with that dimple, inside of this arm, there's a hole. We want to take the supplied screw and we want to place this through the arm and rest it on top of that little dimple. So I'm going to hold the arm up with one hand. Actually, you can sit right where it is and just kind of screw the screw in here. So you can see I'm screwing this screw in here, and then eventually I want to pick this arm up with my thumb so we can screw it above that dimple and not into it. You can see it coming out the other side. And this screw I'm going to take all the way till it bottoms out. And there you can see the screw is resting on this little dimple, and you can see from the throttle there's no center point like this has. So by adding this screw here, it takes out the center point detent where this thing kind of locks into the center. But what happened is now it just kind of flops around. So to add a little bit of tension, we want to add to this screw on the right a little bit of pressure to this side spring, and then that will add a little bit of friction so that the throttle moves freely with no center detent, but it's also not flopping around like that. And then I want to make sure that this wire is not on top of these. This is just a stamped steel, so if this wire were to sit on this and be rocked back and forth, eventually it will cut into the wire. So you want to be careful that that kind of sticks off of that. Even this one here, I want to make sure that this sticks off of that stamped steel section. And the other thing I want to do is make sure that these wires are kind of tucked in here so that they don't get pinched in the case when we put this back together. And we'll take this back plate and make sure that there are no wires in between the halves as we're shutting this. As long as everything is good, you can press it back together. There we go. Press back together. Sometimes these switches will impede your ability to tighten this, so you gotta loosen this ring just a little bit. Yeah, so before I put my screws in, I want to power up the radio and just check on my main screen and just make sure all my switches are in the proper direction, and that on the top of the radio all my switches are in the proper direction, and these two are correct. So let's put in our back screws. And the other thing that you want to check is to make sure that you like the controls the way they are. Is your throttle tension good enough? Next, I will go ahead and install my 6 screws. Just a note of safety. This module is turned off inside of this radio. So this is the only reason why I am turning this radio on and off without an antenna. Do not turn on a radio with this installed, turned on inside of the radio without an antenna. You will burn it out. So I've gotten the 6 screws holding the radio together, all screwed in. Next, I'm going to finish putting in these Allen keyed screws holding in the sticks. These don't need to be super tight, just snug them down. Okay, so our switches are all facing back. We have all our 8 screws in front are in, our 6 are in the back, our radio is in, the radio is powered on, and all our switches are facing back. We're good. Now, the last thing that we need to do to finish this install is to adjust our stick endpoints. To do that, push and hold menu, and then we're going to go to page 9. And the trick here is if you actually, you can hit page and get there, but if you just press and hold page, you will actually go backwards. So now we hit enter to start. So center sticks. We've centered our sliders. We've centered our sticks. Hit enter. Move sticks and pots. And then hit enter. And that's it. Calibration is done. As you can see, I can hit the top, the bottom, the left, all the way around. Some of you are wondering where it is. It's right here. Don't worry, it ain't far. So that's how to install the M9 Gimbal in the Taranis X9D Plus. If you found this video helpful, click that thumbs up button and just punch that subscribe button, because you only get to do it once and it's fun. And I'll catch you later. Peace.